Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this masterclass on becoming a strong leader. This is the final masterclass that we're doing for this series, and I hope it is a very impactful one and meaningful to you. And thank you so much for joining me today. This has been a series. I think we're at the the 13th video for this series. Maybe this may be the 14th. I can't remember which one we completed last week, but somewhere around there, where we've gone through a series on how to become a leader from a manager. What does it take to make that transition? What are the differences? And then how do we overcome those differences and put systems in place that actually make us better and that cause us to be able to have the highest amount of impact that we can, whether we're on a small team, a large team, or we own the whole company. So what this one is about is kind of the all-encompassing finale for this series, because I think there are, as we've gone through it, because we do one per week, and so that's like 13 weeks of different lessons that I've gone through and delivered. And I imagine that as you go through those lessons, that there could be some room to forget some of what I've said. And so in this message, in this masterclass, I just want to just hone in on those most important aspects, so that as you charge forwards, you have that kind of charge and that reminder of what exactly it requires. What is the mindset, and then at the end, I really want you to ask yourself the question if you are actually ready to be a leader, because so many people simply aren't. So many people take a promotion and then they find out they're utterly miserable in that new position, because the requirements of the activity, the knowledge base, the managing team members, the leading team members, the accountability is all something that they completely despise, and they never realize that just because that next paycheck and that next level in the company looks really nice and shiny and the person there looks awesome, it's not all that it's cracked up to be, unless you are made for that work, unless you're ready for that kind of work. And so we're going to go over the finale in this, and there's one overarching principle that I want to remind you of as a leader, as a person transitioning into this new role. And that is this: there's one overarching rule for everything: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And if you know to do well and you don't do it, then that's on you. So let's get into the material today. One person can lead millions in the right direction or in the wrong direction. We've seen this many times throughout history. We've seen one person lead millions in the wrong direction over a long span of time. So we can look back and we say Adolf Hitler, and he led an entire nation and then disrupted the entire continent and the world, for that matter. Got nations involved that weren't even connected to the continent. And then we see other leaders that said, no, the buck stops with me and we will prevail, like Winston Churchill, where he gathered allies and then they started an effort to defeat their enemy. And so one person, one determined individual, can lead millions in the right or in the wrong direction. And my question to you as we start off this content today is, which one will you be? Are you going to be that one that leads with great perseverance and focus and intensity and intentionality in the right direction? Or are you going to be one of those people who allows those who follow you to be led in the wrong direction? And I hope that you choose today to be a person that leads the team that you lead, the family that you lead, the if you're the oldest of brothers and sisters in a large family, maybe you're a leader there, or maybe you're in a church and you're leading a small group, or maybe you're the pastor of a church, or maybe you're the leader of a large company or a small company, or a team within a large company, or a team within a small company. Which type of leader are you going to be? And that's a question that you and I both must answer as we start to trek in to this leadership responsibility. So in the course that I've gone over for the past 13 weeks, I believe it's 13, um, you I've gone over these things, helping you know what you might not know, because you don't know what you don't know. And in business, what you don't know might get you killed. So you better learn some stuff and make sure that you know what you need to know so that you can actually perform and prosper over time. And in this masterclass, I've taught many of those lessons for the upcoming leader. And then creating immediate implementation, so where you can start right where you are. The whole idea behind this course was I had kept a leader and a person in mind who was trying to grow themselves, grow their leadership, and actually and step into that leadership role. And they're ready. They've decided that they want to be a leader, and they want to be a great leader, and they want to lead in the right direction, but they don't exactly know how. And so they've got tools that they can use immediately to start right where they are, not start 10 years ahead, not start in a place, but start right where you are to take steps forwards that cause you to be able to prosper in the area of leadership. And then finally, I hope, as the culmination of all of this material, you built a better leader in yourself. That's my true desire for you, that as you've gone through the content, as you've listened through many of these classes today, that you've learned the things that you need to know. You have the tools to start right where you are, and you're building a better leader in yourself. Because if there's one thing that I've learned over many years of leading, and I think we're going to go into that slide, okay, in a second. But anyways, if there's one thing that I've learned over many years of leading, it's that that's actually the reason why I call this thing the forge, is because it takes time, pressure, intensity, heat, and challenges to truly forge the greatest of leaders. I've seen leaders over a span of 11 years working through developing, becoming better, becoming more mature, becoming better decision makers, being intentional about their leadership capabilities and their personal growth, and becoming amazing leaders. And I've seen others in the same period of time work at it, drop off, lose focus, work at it, be counseled, drop off and lose focus, and ultimately, in the end of a 10-year period, decide that just miss the mark of leadership, miss the mark of actually being able to be impactful and live out the intentional and very meaningful purpose of a leader. And so the forge, I call it, because it takes time, pressure, heat, intensity, and challenges to be able to create an incredible leader. So you start where you are, but then you have to grow. But you start that's why I've been so concentrated with this material, because these are exactly the things that must be true in you if you're going to be able to start to stand the test of time. And so I hope that that has been an encouragement to you, and that if you've missed some of the content that we put together for this series, please go back and watch it. It will change your life. It will make you a better leader, and the people around you will thank you. The Forge, why lead? Transitioning from manager to leader. I think if there's one thing that a manager to leader, like making the transition from manager to leader, you have to understand, is that while you work, you will not be able to lead if you don't know why you're leading, and if you can't transfer that message as to why anybody is doing anything in your team, your workplace, or your company. If you can't do that, you can't lead. And so, why lead? That's what this one is called on the Forge finale. So again, who am I? My name is Jason Ellinger. I'm the CEO of Taiki Translations and TVP Team, and we provide digital services to people all around the world, as well as translation and interpretation services, 508 compliance and ADA, document remediation, all kind of fun stuff. And we've been doing this for about 16 years. Part of the idea behind making this whole series was also having a course for my own leaders to be able to understand, as they make the transition from manager to leader, and they start working, they continue their journey working up the ladder in our company, that they would have the content to know exactly what they need to learn in order to be able to move forwards, move upwards, and have a greater impact. And so as we did it, we said, well, why wouldn't we just share this with others? Because these are lessons that we've learned through the tried and true furnace of business, of entrepreneurship, of growing a multi-million dollar company over all of these years, working with the ups and the downs and the cycles of business. And why wouldn't we share this content with others and hopefully provide value? And so I hope that all of this is providing value to you, because these aren't just theories. This isn't just information that we pull out of our butt. It's actually information that works. We worked for years and years and years, and we've worked and prospered and won, and we've won a lot, and we've gotten through a lot of struggles and challenges and ups and downs in business. And these are some of the lessons that we've learned along the way, some of the things that must be true if you're going to make it. And there's lots and lots of people who don't make it. People are going to open businesses this year, and 90% of those businesses will not be in business in 5 years. 90% of those who make it past 5 years, about half of those will be gone before the end of 10 years. So if you're going to make it in business, you're going to have character. You're going to have the tools required to prosper. And I'm delivering those to you in all the sessions that we're doing. I've been delivering content for about 2 years now. Well, yep, a year and a half now, and we're going to keep doing this because it seems to be helpful for those who are in the entrepreneurial space, and it's helpful for our team as well. So, like the videos, please subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss the other series that we're putting out. I'm going to announce the new series at the end of this video, so stick with us to the end. And please like and subscribe to all of our channels, and share with people who you know in your life who need to know about this type of content, or who are running a business, or who are struggling through a challenge. They might find a nugget or some advice. They might find some insight as to how they could solve a problem. If you love somebody and you have some content that could help them through a challenge that they're facing, they'll only say thank you if you do that, if they're normal. Okay, I've got those family members too. So you could share some advice with them, and they would just smack you in the face for it. So I understand that aspect of it, but I mean, in general, if you have normal people in your life that appreciate you and you share something valuable with them, they're going to appreciate what you've done. So I appreciate very much if you would share this content with those people around you, and help the channel grow, help me continue to be able to deliver this content consistently. All right, guys. So here's some phrases and quotes I like, and I think they are indicative. They uncover some very important principles of some elements in leadership that are going to be required if you're going to take on the leadership role. Listen to this. A good plan, violently executed today, is better than a perfect plan to be executed next week. That was General Patton. And he also said, no great plan survives first contact with the enemy. You're going to start, you're going to get roughed up, and things are going to have to change. In the momentum of business, in the momentum of all the activity of what you've got going on, it's going to have you're going to get roughed up, beat up. Things are going to be knocked around, but you're going to go forwards. But you had a plan that got adjusted because of reality, and you keep charging anyways. Never give in. Never give in. Never, 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 never. And nothing great or small, large or petty. Never give in, except to convictions of honor and good sense. Again, the aspect of reality. Never give in, except to convictions of honor and good sense. So that furious, tenacious, intentional, powerful, I will not fail. And if I'm presented with facts, data, and reality that contradicts some of the things that I'm doing and makes them kind of stupid, I will adjust and persevere. Because in the end, I will persevere. So never give in, but make sure you adjust as you go forwards when you learn new information about something that you're doing that's not effective. What happens in your house is more important. By the way, the never give in one, that's Winston Churchill again. What happens in your house is more important for your life than what happens in the White House. I had to delete an app off my phone this week. I put it on my phone about 3 months ago, and I've just gotten so bothered and agitated more often than not as I opened it and looked at what's going on in the White House and what's going on else around the world, that I had to take it off my phone because I have to remind myself that this phrase is true. What happens in your house and the decisions that you make for your life are more impactful for you than what happens elsewhere in the world and in the White House. Reminding you that you and I must take agency over our life. We are our lives' best and most impactful agents. And sometimes we forget that. Sometimes, because of the noise of the world and all the messaging that's coming in, we start to feel like we're not in control. That the messages say that, well, if the government can come in and save us, we'll all be okay. Or if this law gets passed, we'll all be fine. Or if that happens, or such happens, and outside of our control and outside of our realm of influence, then somehow our lives will improve. And the truth is, it's absolutely false. You control the success of your life. And it's the decisions you make today that make the difference. All right. So I'm going to add one last one. Whether you believe you can or whether you believe that you can't, you are correct. That was Henry Ford. He said, whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, you are correct. There's many other phrases I like, but each one is brings to light a principle that must be true in a leader. Now, I'm not saying that every single person on the face of the earth, this must be true for them. I'm not saying that. But if you are going to choose to be a leader, then those must be true about you. You must know them and you must know how to tactically carry them out. Now, that's what this course has been all about. Why lead? Well, leaders are visible. It's amazing to see an incredible leader do stuff. That's awesome. They have a great position. They look really cool. Maybe they drive a nice car or a big truck. Maybe they look really fancy. They have impact, right? They you look around and you see a great leader and you're like, man, that is what I want to be. I want to be that. They make it rain. They cause things to happen in the team and in the business. And you look at that and you're like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. I want to do that, to do what they do. If you don't know what they know and have the character that they have, you can't do what they do. They're noble. They show up early and often. They give without question. They analyze decisions and make them rapidly. And most of the time they're right. They share the burden of their team's pain. And they understand that there are things that eat at us worse than dying or failure. So they create never die value living momentum and movements in their business. And then they invite people into that and charge forwards. Sometimes we see the visible, impactful rainmaker aspect of leadership, and we're inspired by that, but we don't have what causes that to be possible, that undergirding that causes that to be a reality, causes you and I to be able to carry out and be able to sustain that visibility, that leadership capacity. And so I want to go over some of these requirements today as I finish out this series on becoming a great leader. Choosing trust over invulnerability. What does this mean? We talk about this in one of the sessions, but I'm going to reiterate it here. Admitting when you're wrong, not being afraid of that, but being very strong when you're correct. When you're absolutely correct, and that's a really hard thing to be, because sometimes being correct is very unpopular. Somebody didn't follow the core values of the company. There's a systemic issue in your organization. There's a toxic section in your company. You don't know what's going on there, but you found out that there's a certain team member that's causing this, and you have to deal with that. But they've been here for a really long time, and there's so many companies like this. So many leaders that I've talked to have people in their organizations that should no longer be there. They know it, and they haven't done anything about it. So you choose trust over invulnerability, and you're open about your greatest weaknesses. You know yourself well enough to be able to communicate to the team where you're deficient. They know that, and they fill in because they trust you, and you've developed that trust with them. Vulnerability based trust. If it is not in your company, if you are not aware of the requirement to build this into your team, then I guarantee you it is not fully there like it should be, and you have some work to do. So you must choose trust over invulnerability. Being vulnerable, creating vulnerability based trust among the team. And that means that you have to make sacrifices to demonstrate that vulnerability with your team. And yeah, you're probably going to get hurt. And yeah, you're probably going to get taken advantage of. And it's going to be painful, but you're a leader. And that's part of leading. I've had some of my most trusted leaders do things that were unthinkable, that just blew my mind after years of working together. And you feel betrayed. You're the leader of this organization. We must carry on, and we cannot grow a spirit of hardness, of bitterness, of anger, or build this shell around our spirit so that nobody can access who we are, so that we never get hurt again. Now, I'm not saying make yourself open to all hurt and attacks by anyone. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying if you don't have a team that you can be vulnerable with, who won't hurt you 98% of the time, then you have to build that team. And that vulnerability based trust is the bedrock for all other success in your business. Where you be honest about feedback, you're clear about where your deficiencies are. When you make a mistake, you own it and you move forwards doing what's right, taking the next right best step. Next requirement, choosing results over status. So many leaders aren't ready for this one. This, so many team members, actually, I've seen, must be acknowledged for the work that they do, or they're crushed. But as a leader, this cannot be a reality for you. You are more concerned, and I am more concerned about the results of the organization and our collective success than I am about my position. And if it means I need to take a backseat role in order for this thing to charge forward, it doesn't matter. I will do it. My status, I don't care. I'm going to take a backseat role so that this team member, this team, this section, this product, this launch can proceed to achieve its maximum potential. And if I did some really powerful elements of the process to make it come to life and nobody really acknowledged my input, I'm completely fine with that because the results matter more than my status in our organization. The results matter to me more than me being acknowledged and being lifted up and being put on a pedestal. Are you ready for that requirement? Are you ready to choose results over status? So many people aren't. And this is one of the biggest and most mature signs that we see in leaders. When they can do this consistently, not grow bitter, not say, well, I wish I was acknowledged more often. Now, in good companies, they're going down, and I believe in acknowledging people. I believe in making sure that people are seen, represented, and applauded. And we do that in team meetings, and we talk about the successes, and we talk about successes of individual people to make sure they're heard and felt seen and loved. But as a leader, it might be the case that your team achieves something incredible for nobody really acknowledges even your leadership or your input. but you exceeded the results, the expectations. Are you okay with the expectations being your reward, the exceeded expectations, the success being your reward? Because so many people aren't, and they grow bitter when they're not acknowledged immediately about a current success. I just I don't know if you're aware, because so I'm a CEO of an organization, right? I don't know if you're really and truly aware of this, but if you're the CEO of an organization, nobody tells you you do a good job very often. They really don't. Maybe on your birthday, maybe sometime in some way, but nobody says, wow, you did amazing. And you know what? That's okay. Because when we see the collective success of our team, and when we see the investments that people have made, and we get to point out their successes and the investment they made, and how we're moving forwards in our mission, and how we're achieving and growing and working through painful, challenging problems, that is enough, because you're a leader. You're not you're not just something that has to be celebrated. You're not a diva. You're not a superstar. You're not somebody that's going to be put up on a pedestal all the time. You might be on the pedestal, talking about the company's mission and charging to the future, visioneering, but the results matter more than status. And if you're not ready for that, you're not ready to be a leader. And if that sounds a little harsh, if that rubs you the wrong way, you can grow into that. You can learn it. It doesn't come easy though, because sometimes you're like, man, I mean, we really worked hard on that. We acknowledged everybody, but man, that would have been nice to be acknowledged for that. However, I remember that one of my biggest rewards is that the team succeeded and we moved forwards to fight another day, another project, another opportunity to grow and prosper and impact more people with our mission. And so choosing results over status is a requirement, and you have to decide yourself, are you ready to live out that requirement? Are you ready to take on that charge? Willing to give up your position? And I already answered the other aspects of this, but the fact that you are collectively winning and continuing to win is enough reward for you. That's a hard question to answer for a lot of people. And a lot of people grow bitter when they don't get all of the acknowledgement around everything that they've done. And they don't constantly be acknowledged for all the work that they've done. And they're like, oh my gosh, because I'm not being acknowledged, nobody loves me. No. The higher you go on the leadership, the higher you get in leadership, and especially once you get to the end, nobody really applauds what the amazing things that you've done. It goes the other way though, and it's your job to make sure that other people are acknowledged. The requirements: choosing productive conflict over harmony. Now that sounds a little weird, right? But we went over a whole lesson on this, and we talked about what this means. And I hope if you have trouble understanding this part, that you go back and watch that session, because it is absolutely vital for a leader to be able to have productive conflict in their organization, on their team, in their operations, in order to drive to great decisions. You don't allow comfort to rule. We just come in here, sit on the sofas, and just enjoy a really calm and peaceful meeting where nobody's feelings are hurt. If that's the situation that you're in, I guarantee that the quality of the decisions that you're making is low. Because in order to drive to the best decisions that cause the most success in your organization and serve everyone best, there's going to have to be idealistic conflict around the things that matter, the operations that are happening, the decisions that are being made in the organization. You serve by willingly, without any apprehension, uncovering internal conflicts and being brave enough and skilled enough to work through them. Now, this is one of the areas that most leaders have incredible problem with, because they're not skilled enough or brave enough to work through productive and idealistic conflict between their team around issues involving growing and prospering the organization. And they might not even be mature enough to understand what are those most important things that are causing that would cause the organization to charge forwards and what they should be having conflict about. So, if you don't have conflict in your meetings, your decisions are subpar. I guarantee it, 100%. Manufacturing better decisions comes through productive conflict. Now, this is based on vulnerability based trust. The bedrock is vulnerability based trust. And this doesn't mean mean spirited arguments and name calling. That's not what we're talking about. But somewhere just shy of that, to where people get really into the discussion, that's pretty about. And sometimes you as a leader, you have to give the team permission to say, you know what? Actually, you guys are getting at each other's throat, and this is a really good thing. let's keep let's keep going. We're going to keep it respectful, but let's keep going because this is going to drive us to the best decisions for our company. But leaders having a skill to do that is very few and far between. And so do you have the willingness to choose productive conflict over harmony for your team? Because if you don't, you're letting down the organization, you're letting down your team. Their quality of unity, their quality of decision making, the quality of what you produce is hindered because there's no productive conflict and you choosing complete harmony and in the disguise of professionalism over productive conflict built on a foundation of vulnerability based trust. The requirements: choose accountability over popularity. I mean, I chose these because they're so indicative of an immature leader. And because I've seen them so many times throughout my leadership career in different organizations. We have a team that is reluctant, or a team member or a leader that is reluctant to give feedback because they don't want to hurt the feelings of the team member, because they think it might come across them as harsh or impartial, because they might feel like they just don't know how to deliver it. It's just very uncomfortable. No, you must choose accountability over popularity. You will be, at times, temporarily unpopular. And if a leader is temporarily unpopular for the right reasons, that's okay. If he's holding people accountable and holding them to the results that they're supposed to be accomplishing, and or she, then that's okay, because people are going to be they're not going to like that. And if they don't like that, if they don't appreciate that for a while, then it might be their time to go. But on the flip side, if they start to understand the role of that in the operation of the organization and appreciate that somebody has to hold the bar and so is willing to do that, and they're doing it as a service to our team day in and day out without fail, sacrificingly holding people accountable over being popular, then and the whole organization grows because of it, then they will start to see its worth. That takes great skill and it takes time to learn and implement. But if you are going to be a great leader, you must choose accountability over popularity, never being reluctant to hold back negative feedback or positive feedback. Obviously, that's easy, but never creating unfairness and never creating favoritism. Are there team members that you have conversations about when they're not in the room with another team member, and you talk about them in a not super positive way, creating favoritism, starting to create this kind of unfair, or we're more connected than they are, so we can talk about them this way? When you do that, and you don't have a clear and okay, let me back up. When you do that, it causes you to be less willing to give the required feedback, to give negative feedback when required, because this is my bud, this is my friend, this is my we're pals, so I can't give them that feedback. The best teams are tightly knit, they're friends and buddies, and they're willing to receive that negative feedback. And that we talked about it in the humble, hungry, and smart section of building a great team. And so you must choose accountability over popularity. And if you're not willing to do that, you're not ready to be a great leader. The requirements: you must choose clarity over certainty. Making good decisions today, even without all the facts, is required of a great leader. And if you can't do this consistently and get to where most of the time you're right, like 90% of the time you're on the right side of the spectrum, then you can't be a great leader. Like, oh my gosh, Jason, why do you keep saying this? You can't be a great leader if you're not doing this. It is, you literally cannot be a great leader if you cannot make decisions when you don't have all the facts. Well, how can you make decisions with all the facts? Listen, the rule is work really hard to get 70 to 80% of the information that you need to make the right decision, and backfill with experience. Use make that 30 to 20 to 30% of information that you don't have, backfill it with your experience on what direction you should go, and then take the step. Make the decision, pull the trigger, ship the book, write the book, counsel the team member, give the negative feedback, fire the team member, whatever it is, take the step. You can't, certainty, 100% certainty is so rare in business that if you don't choose that you will be clear even when things are uncertain, then you can't be a great leader. So you have to be able to make those decisions even when you don't have all the facts. Don't sit and debate details. This is the massive mistake leaders make. You sit and you debate details of operations and processes instead of dealing with the looming and very difficult high impact item for the company, because we don't know how to solve it. The big hairy beast that's sitting there looming over everything, maybe it's like, how do we get new contracts, or how do we find new clients? And you need to deal with that issue, actually face it and work on it, instead of, well, we make these mechanisms and this financial process could be worked out better this way, and these details about such and such, and the market is going in this direction, and then we need to shift this here there. We simply need to make a program to get new clients, and until we solve that issue, none of this other stuff matters. So what are we going to do? Learn to debate the details. Learn to stop debating details and deal with the looming, much more difficult problem that your organization or you personally are facing, even when they're scary. And there's many times in business when things will be completely scary and you will not know what to do. That is the problem you need to solve. How do we get work out of these contracts? How do we hire a team member for this position? I don't even know what the specifications are for this new position that we don't even have in our company, but we need it. How do we get somebody skilled enough? How do we even hire people right? All of those types of things are worthy items to be discussed and dealt with as you work through building your organization. Creating clarity and choosing clarity over certainty will cause you to move forwards when things are not perfectly, like you don't have all the information that you need to make the next decision. And so I really want to encourage you that just because somebody's in a leadership role doesn't mean they always have all the right information they need to make the best next decision. They just make a decision. And that's some of the best leaders. They just make a lot of decisions, and some of them are wrong. And then they start to get a lot better at making the right decisions because they've got a lot of experience. And that's why growing into leadership takes time. And that's why I call it the forge, because you have to learn the skills required to make decisions, even when you don't have all the data, over time. And as you get better and better at it, you get better and better at making the right decision. Don't pride yourself on being intellectually precise. Uh, I've seen so many managers make this like, well, these are actually the facts about this, and go and they'll just go over just keep going over the facts about this minutia that we don't need to be discussing, simply because they don't know how to deal with the bigger, more hairy, scary, more challenging thing, but it's very high impact for the organization. They simply don't know how to solve that problem. So let's discuss all the things we do know how to discuss, so that we don't have to deal with a big hairy thing and just get done with a meeting. In fact, you're failing the organization. So choose clarity over certainty. Next. Man, when I went through and created the slides, I wasn't envisioning myself saying, wow, this is a really big one. But as I'm going through this content right now and delivering this to you, these are so massive and they're so rare in leaders that they all grant being on the finale for this series, because it is required for a leader, if you're going to be a great one and one of any great influence and impact, to have these characteristics and to be able to carry out these strategically and tactically in your day-to-day operations. So, vision. No, man, so many people live without this, and it's a big mistake. If you've gone 6 months and you still don't have the vision exactly right for your life, for your business, your team, your mission for your company, the problem isn't finding your purpose. The problem is you. You're not driving to clarity. You must decide, you must cast the vision, and you must proceed. If purification of the vision is required as you go, so be it. If you're 90% right, it's okay. You don't have to be 100% right. If you're 80% right, it's okay. As you go, the vision will be clearer and clearer and clearer. So if you don't have a vision right now, and you are waiting till you get it perfect to charge forwards, or you're just trying to find your purpose in life, and you've gone 6 months and you still haven't, the problem is not the purpose. The problem is not whether or not or not you can do something. The problem is you not establishing something and going forwards. Decide and proceed. The vision will be clarified as you go, but you must decide and charge. You will not accomplish anything if you don't make a move. Write the vision, make it plain, that he can run who reads it. That's what the Bible says about vision. Write the vision in Habakkuk and make it plain, that he can run who reads it, so that there's no question about the actions required to move forwards. So vision, you are required, a fundamental requirement for a leader to be able to cast vision, have a vision, and act on the vision. When inevitable failure happens, and it will, recover. We've talked about this in the masterclasses. By the way, we talked about vision in the masterclass as well. You can go back and watch exactly how to work through the process of creating, establishing, and then manifesting your vision in real life. So go back and watch that in the series, because all of these things will happen. You will experience them. Whether or not you have the tools and skills required to be able to work through them, that's up to you. I've delivered them to you in this masterclass, and I'm going to continue delivering them. You can continue watching and learning. But inevitable failure will happen in your business, in your life, in your surroundings. This is part of the human experience. When it does, recover. You're a leader. You lead people. You get knocked down, you dust off, you stand up, and you charge forwards. Write the letters. Talked about getting through how to deal with massive failure when you're on a team in business or operating. You write letters. Write one to yourself, write one to the person that you wish wouldn't have done you the wrong thing. Doesn't even matter if you don't send it. Then you put down the brick. Talked about how you take that burden. And if you have to, go back out in your backyard, pick up a rock or a brick, and walk around for 10 or 15 minutes while you think about this really burdensome and horrible thing that you've worked through, that you just lived through, and then set it down. Have a funeral for that thing if you have to, bury it and leave it. Re envision your life and re engage in the mission and get after getting things done. The requirement of leaders to do you cannot lead if you cannot recover after massive failure. And there was inevitable failure. It will happen, it will hurt, it will be unbelievably painful. And yet you must recover, re-envision, and charge forwards. Build your dream team. You start with vulnerability-based trust, and you don't proceed in team building until this is a reality. As a leader, you can't move forwards until you have a team who actually trust you and you trust completely in a very vulnerable level. If they don't know your weaknesses and where they can undergird and strengthen you, and you don't know theirs, then you're not a team yet. So you have to build that. You have to build the dream team. And I talked about that in one of the last sessions. We went over starting by building in vulnerability based trust and then growing from there, because you have to have vulnerability based trust to be able to have conflict, idealistic based contract around issues that matter to the organization. And you have to have trust and conflict so that you can get commitment in the organization around the things that matter, because you've discussed and gone through them together, and you've gone through the decision has gone through the trial by fire, and now we've moved to accountability. We can create accountability because we have trust, we have conflict, we have commitment. Now we can hold people accountable for stuff. And because we trust each other on a vulnerability based level, and we're humble, hungry, smart team members, we can actually hold each other accountable without offending or creating depressed team members in our team. We can deliver that negative feedback when we have to, and then we see the results. Results don't come until you have a foundation of trust, ability to have idealistic conflict, being able to drive to commitment around those things that matter, holding people accountable, and at the very top is results. And if you don't have any of the others, you will never be able to produce the amazing results that you're after. So you build the team, and you start with vulnerability based trust, and you go up from there. Once you have a vision, you have to get to goals. A vision with no goals is like having a map with nothing on it. You have an idea of where you want to go, but you don't have the daily activities required to accomplish that thing. If you have an overall vision, I want to become an astronaut. Well, you're probably going to have to study long and hard for that. So what's your plan? Well, I'm not studying all. Well, you're probably not going to become an astronaut. I'm sorry. But you're going to have to do stuff to get there. Make the vision, write the plan. There must be a plan. The plan comes in the forms of goals. You must boil down all the way till you have activity that you could work on today. So you have actual actionable items from your vision all the way down to the goals today. And then once you accomplish the goals that you set out to do, you have to do this again and maintain this reality over time. Leaders do this. This is part of our life. This is how we live. Every year in November, I have goal setting, strategy, and vision casting sessions for the next year. And as I roll through December, our team knows what we're after. And my family knows what they're after, because I've worked on this for years and years and years. And we know that November comes, we're going to be setting goals. We're going to be looking to the future. We're going to be casting the vision. We're going to be talking about how we're going to communicate that. And then we're going to be making new goals that we can take actionable steps on each and every day so that we can prosper. We don't have to accomplish a goal every day. That's not what I'm talking about. But you do have to be able to work on the goal every single day to be able to make it come to life and make that vision come true. So if you haven't moved from vision to goals and you don't have that plan, then you better get to work on it, because if you're going to be a leader, it's required. Conclusion of this: being a leader never ends. You don't just become a leader and all of a sudden you're the star of the show and everything just works. It's work. It's hard work. It's sacrifice. It's showing up yet again. It's making charting another path, path forwards, casting another vision, reminding your team members of the core values for the millionth time. And you're so sick and tired of hearing it. And some of them are too. But you show up yet again and say, we treat people this way because it's the way we want to be treated. And in our organization, the golden rule, that's a core value. And we really do believe it. We don't give up when the going gets tough because we never give up. And you cast those visions and you drive forwards and you keep working on it and you remind them week after week after week in the meetings and you keep going. It never ends. The messaging never ends. The conversation never ends. The negative feedback delivery never ends. The requirement for you to show up never ends. The requirement for you to get through negative situations and recover after somebody let you down, betrayed you, or caused a section of your organization to suffer because of their personal mistakes, it will always be a reality. And you, as a leader, have to work through it. While leadership shines brightly in good times, it is most needed in the bad. And nobody wants to lead in the bad times. I've heard CEOs say, maybe I should just go get another job and move on and do something else as their company was going through great struggle. No, you are most needed during the bad times. Nobody wants to really lead through the bad times. Everybody wants to lead through the good times, the multi-million-dollar situations, the huge deals, the massive landslide profits, and the incredible parties and engagement that we have with our teams and be able to go and do all of these fun things. And then a bad year hits. And then contractor I just talked to this year, they had $40 million in revenue, cut in half in a single year because of some changes and shifts in the marketplace and some regulation changes. It's going to happen. It never ends. They've been in business for 40 years. And the bad times is when the leaders are required, not just in the shiny, bright, and beautiful good times. Being a leader is a distinct decision that you make. Nobody just is born a leader. You're not just born a leader. You don't just come out and you just get born and the doctor says, oh, look, a leader was born. No, a leader is and decisions made time and time again that I will be such. And I will carry out this task and I will bear that burden. I will share the pain of my team. I will drive forward. I will be yet vulnerable again. I will recover after a painful situation. I will charge through the storm. We will stay in the ship and we will sail the ship to safety because we are in this together and I'm the leader and we will win because we never give up. So are you ready to do what is required? That is the question I have for you. Are you ready to be such a leader? Go back through the lesson. Go back through the lessons that I've just created. You can look and see how to do each and every one of these things I've talked about. This is a summary of some of the content that I've gone over. So that I've given you the tools required to be able to take action on them. So go back, and if you've got any questions, drop a question in the chat for us. I'll answer it myself or make sure that we get a very solid, comprehensive answer for you so that you can take the next step. And if you need help on any of this, you can hire us for consulting as well. So, as I promised, we're coming to the end of this masterclass and this masterclass series. And as we're moving into the next one, we're going to be talking about the entrepreneurial mindset. So many people don't realize what is required to be able to be an entrepreneur that wins over decades, over a long period of time. You can get in business and start a startup and sell it and be out. But those ones who create legacy, world-changing movements, what is required for that? That's what we're going to be talking about in the next sessions. So we're going through an entire series on the entire entrepreneurial mindset. And if you want to be an entrepreneur, or you know someone who wants to be an entrepreneur, or you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, or you have others in your life, family members who want to become an entrepreneur, please send this video series to them because we're going to start going through this together on Wednesdays at 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern. And we're going to be talking about how entrepreneurs think and what causes and drives us to action and how we make the most of the best of the meager situations that sometimes we find ourselves in and actually prosper in spite of adversity and through challenges instead of become defeated by them. So I hope to see you in the upcoming master classes. So I want to thank you for being with me in this master series, because if you've watched each and every one all the way to the end, you are a freaking rock star. You are rare. You are incredibly rare, because a leader who wants to lead at your level and who has that deep desire to charge forwards and grow themselves is unbelievably rare. So if that's you and you're actually ready and willing to take on and charge forward in that journey, I'm excited to be with you. I'm excited to be part of that with you and share information, knowledge, insight, and hopefully wisdom that you need to know to be able to make that journey as successfully as you possibly can. So my name is Jason Ellinger. Again, please like and subscribe to the videos and share them with a friend. And if you have any questions about any of the content that I have provided today, please drop a comment in the chat below. We will answer those questions for you. And I may just answer it live in the next masterclass. Sometimes I just do an entire masterclass on answering questions live. So if leadership's for you, make that decision, because there are requirements. There are things that are required of a leader. Sometimes people don't realize that. It is required. You don't just get to say, I'm a leader. A leader must have these characteristics in order to lead. And I hope that you've learned many of those in the past sessions. So I look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you for spending your time with me. And I hope I've truly added value to your life in some special way as we've gone through this content together. Don't miss the next one next week as we work on the entrepreneurial mindset.